Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fitton Center for Creative Arts. My name is Ian Mackenzie Thurley. I'm the executive director here, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the second of our Celebrating Self series for this season. Wonderful crowd here today. We really appreciate the support here at the Fitton Center. About a year ago, we were starting to put things together for this season. And we really had a good hard look at what we wanted this season to be and what we wanted Celebrating Self to be. I was very fortunate. I was on the Chamber of Commerce Leadership Hamilton Class 25, and if you don't know, that was the best class. Nancy O'Neill said I should say that, which was an incredible experience. That lasted about 9 months, and our first exploration into Hamilton was Criminal Justice Day, and we went to the police department, we went to the courts, we went to the juvenile justice unit, and we also went out to visit the sheriff, and we went out to the sheriff's department and the jails. It was an engaging day, it was an enlightening day, it was a very sobering day. You sometimes live in your own little bubble anywhere you work, but particularly here at the Fitton Center. I have a fantastic place to work. So to be out in the community and to see what people are doing out there, to see what our first responders, what our law enforcement are doing every day was captivating for me and a great learning experience. We have a lot of brave men and women who are out there every day tapping on car windows and knocking on doors and not knowing what's behind them. And it was great to see what they do, how they do it, and how that reflects throughout the community. So with that, we really wanted to find some ways to engage that with our Celebrating Self series and bring some of that community out there here into the Fitton with a captive audience, a beautiful lunch, and an hour to speak. And that's what brought us to our speaker today. Usually the phrase, "this man needs no introduction," would fit. However, this is Hamilton. And when you're introducing a Richard Jones, you have to be quite specific.
There's 3 of them.
I know 4. I met a gentleman at my kids' primary school, and he said to me, "There is another one." So
there's a lot of them.
There are a lot. So I just wanted to be very clear. I am very delighted to introduce to you today Butler County Sheriff, Sheriff K. Jones.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm kind of a shy individual, so bear with me. I like his accent. Some part of Kentucky. I haven't figured out which it is. Somewhere I've never been, I can tell you that. Afraid to go now. It's a tough environment we live in. Somebody asked me when I came in, did I know what I was going to talk about? I said, no. It'll come to me. It makes people nervous. But before I start, I want to apologize to everybody for what I'm about to say. So that covers everything, okay? In case I offend anybody, I'm sorry. I try not to most of the time. Sometimes I do. I get sued a lot, but I have good lawyers. It's called vicarious liability. I get sued for what my employees do or what they don't do. And I spend a little time in court. I've taken more depositions than most of the attorneys that are deposing me. And they're a whole lot younger than I am, so I have fun with them. In a deposition, you can say whatever you want. But I like I said, I'm very shy, and there's a lot of different topics that I want to talk about, and I'm going to try to squeeze it all in and not bore you with what I'm about to say. I'm a local guy here in Hamilton. I was born and raised here, went to public schools. Didn't always know I was going to be the sheriff. Spent a little time at detention. Of course, I blame that on the teachers. Neil Fitton was retired police chief from Hamilton. He and I were in the same class for one class. He was on the honor roll, and I was not. I had more fun than he did. So they took us out to Garfield, where I went to school. And Furlman was in his little chief uniform, and I was in my little sheriff uniform. And we went to the principal's office. They were asking us what we thought, and I said, makes me a little nervous. Furlman said, doesn't make me nervous. I was here all the time. I said, they liked you. And he could run up and down the hallway, and nice guy. Had a little pencil pack and stuff, and with his little ink pens. He had matching socks, matching pants. He's a nice guy. My wife used to take his lunch money, and I always felt bad about that. but she didn't know he was going to be the police chief. So we'd have treated him with a lot more respect. So a little bit about Hamilton. My son-in-law is a police officer in Westchester. My son's the police chief in Cleves, Ohio. My daughter was a dispatcher in Westchester. I told her, don't date policemen. That didn't work. I should have said date policemen, would have never done it. But he made me some nice grandchildren. So I'm very fortunate there. My mother worked the juvenile center. My father was a Hamilton policeman. My father also spent time in detention. Diller Jones was his name. He spent time in detention as a police officer. And I can tell you a funny story. I'm only going to tell you the funny stories. My father and another gentleman was walking the beat up in Hamilton. George McNally wasn't the chief, but he's a sergeant, desk sergeant. Went to try to find the two walking the beat, my father and another man. They couldn't find him. Couldn't find him for 3 days. They hopped a train and went to Lima to watch a football game. Train broke down. So they were there for 3 days. He didn't get fired for that, but he spent time in detention also. But those were different times. Probably done it 100 times and it was okay. But that one damn time, the train broke down. And then there was other stories I can't tell you. I think the statute of limitations has ran out, but I think I could tell you, but I won't. He used to referee and umpire football games that I played in. The other team never knew. That was their bad, my good. So it always worked out well for me. When I got elected sheriff, this is going on my 4th term that I'm running for right now. I worked at the sheriff's office for 24 years. I was the number 2 guy under a great sheriff, Sheriff Gabbard, who was also a Hamilton police officer. He retired after 12 years. I was his number 2 person. I ran for sheriff. And I was told, once you get elected sheriff, you can be there for as long as you want if you follow these rules. One of the rules is, don't get involved in anybody else's political courthouse business, courthouse politics. Stay away from it. Mind your own business. You'll be there forever. Well, that's kind of boring to do, and I could never do that. Everybody has to be different. So what I do is I have a pretty good philosophy. I hire very smart people. I pay them well, and I let them work. I listen, I pay attention, I make the final decisions, and I take with what goes with every decision that I make. If it's a real bad one, I'm not available for the news media. I let my chief go out. Sheriff's not available. Hard to believe, isn't it? Sheriff doesn't have anything to say. Hard to believe. But I think sometimes things sound like a good idea till they actually come out of your mouth or you actually do them. But one person can make a difference. I have a master's degree from Xavier University, but I don't tell people that. I say y'all and howdy, and I grow this big mustache, and I wear this cowboy hat, and I talk real slow sometime, and it works for me. My first budget hearing, they laid the budget down in front of me, and I looked over, and I said, well, how many zeros does a million have in it? And I know they thought, this guy will never make it. Now the commissioners have to hire 8 people in finance just to figure out what I know. So I hire, again, smart people, and I know exactly how many zeros a million has in it. I know math was not my greatest subject, but I can round up when it's to my advantage and round down when it's not. And if you don't believe that, ask Charlie Young, the county administrator. I can cut deals in an elevator. You hear often about elevator deals. You need to be able to have a conversation in an elevator quick and fast. I cut a deal for $10 million in an elevator in Columbus. Can't make those stories up. When we were building the current jail, got a deal cut between the first floor and the 3rd floor. It only had 3 floors, so I had to talk quick. It wasn't like 50 floors up. Cut the deal, $10 million addition to our current jail, which was $34 million. You can do the math. So I had to sell it very quickly. But I'll tell you how I did it. You'll laugh, maybe. We were very overcrowded. I was going to put tents up. Nobody wanted the sheriff to put tents up. I mean, the city was going crazy. The county was going crazy. The state, the feds, the federal government even stopped me from getting tents for military surplus. They thought they had me locked in a corner, but I found tents. Then they were worried, where was I going to put these tents? I told them, downtown Hamilton, really to get their attention. So I played with them a little while, but I actually put the tents up over at the Resolution facility. The first night, we spent the night in the tents. So they couldn't complain that we were putting prisoners in these tents. Now, I took Mike Fox with us. Everybody remembers Mike Fox. And he was a commissioner at that time. We thought we'd let him stay in the tent. Don't say nothing, I know what you're thinking. So we let him stay in the jail tent, and it was 100 degrees that day. He lived, so we knew the tents were okay. He went to sleep that night, and he had the fan blowing on him. We were sucking up to him a little bit, but as soon as he went to sleep, we took that fan off of him. Put it on me. And at daylight, we were the hell out of that place, I can tell you that. But because of the tents, the Department of Corrections, a gentleman by the name of Reggie Wilkerson, who I knew from the prison business, were giving money, grants, to the different counties. In the elevator, he said, will you put that tent up? I said, already put the tent up. He said, will you take it down? I said, maybe. He said, we got a grant available to you. If you promise not to put that damn tent up, we're going to give you that grant. I said, done. But I had my fingers crossed. So we got a $10 million. We didn't put the tent up anymore. It wasn't very feasible. But I got attacked for putting the tent up. Why do you think I got attacked? It's too cruel and inhumane for prisoners. So naturally, they took the bait. Not that Trump would take any bait or anything, but they took the bait. So what I said is, hell, the military stays in tents. The Girl Scouts stay in tents. The Boy Scouts. It's too good for the prisoners. The prisoners actually liked the tents. They were outside. They volunteered to be in the tents. So with that is how we got a $10 million grant. It helped. The city was sicking people on me. The county, the fire marshals were over on me. It was tough. But I put the tents up and took the tents down. What you spend on prisoners is $25,000 to $40,000 a year per prisoner. I bet you spend probably $6,000 on students in school. So the system's broke. It's not going well. You have over 1,000 prisoners in your county jail right now. We've had as many as 1,500. Figure it out. I have more women in my jail than I ever had before. I have 8 pregnant ladies in my jail, all heroin addicts. I've had 3 babies born in the jail. The last one was born in the toilet. Lived. They induce labor so they can get out and do more heroin. I had one lady that started her first heroin shot when she was 15. Her mother gave it to her. Doesn't have a chance. Then she would inject her mother. I had another guy that was in the parking lot. He started his heroin when he was 15. He got released from the jail, and his mother met him in the parking lot with some heroin so they could both shoot up heroin in the parking lot. Of the 8 ladies that are in my jail pregnant right now, of the 8, they probably have 15 to 16 children total. They have none of them. You pay for it. They're in the local hospitals. They're born addicted. And when you hold these little children and their legs quiver, it'll bring tears to your eyes. One guy I know that's 28 years old, been arrested 28 times. Been to 8 different rehab programs. Court order. Said when he gets out, he'll do it again. Some of you ladies and gentlemen have heard me say this. This is, I don't know if I can say it on television. He'll bleep it out, but I assume I'm going to say it anyway. One guy has no veins left to shoot his heroin. So what he does is he shoots it in his penis. Now, you think that would scare young men not to do that, correct? They'll tell you, they'll look you right in the eye. If that's the only place I have to shoot it, that's where I'm shooting it. It's $25 to $30 a rock. As soon as they get off of it, they're dope sick. And when they're dope sick, they have to go get more. They have a new drug out called cheese. Kids in grade school can buy it with their lunch money. It's not to make a profit, it's to develop customers. So if you think the drug culture is weak, if you think the people that are bringing these drugs into our country are stupid drug users, they're not. Most of them aren't drug users, they're drug sellers. They have very sophisticated equipment. When we raid these places, they have cameras, they have listening devices, and it's hard to go up the ladder, because when you go up the ladder, as far as arrest, people die. Informants die. It's a terrible culture that we live in, and it's one I would like to tell you that we're winning, we're losing. Any politician that stands up or you go to speak to or you see them and they tell you that we are winning, they're lying to you. We're not winning. 76% of all the illegal drugs in the world, I want to repeat that, 76% of all the illegal drugs in the world come to the United States. 76%. So, again, that's almost 80%. So that tells you they come where the money is, and we are where the money is. Our culture is, if it feels good, do it. They've got heroin now that's killing people. I know one person that was revived 8 times with Narcan. 8 times. Now, do you think those people stop using Narcan as soon as they get the shot? No. Sometimes they'll go right back before the day's out. Your life squad, your fire departments, your resources, and the cost. So there's pros and cons, no pun intended with the con remark, of it's one that just comes out. Pray for me. What it does, there's people that say it's a good thing. There's people that say it's a bad thing. It enables people to keep doing the heroin. You can buy heroin. Very rapidly, very easily. They shoot heroin in cars with it in drive. So if they pass out, their foot will come off the brake and somebody will give them a shot of Narcan. They shoot up in nice restaurants. They shoot up in bad restaurants. They shoot up any and everywhere. It's all families, rich, poor, middle class. I have people that come to my jail to visit their daughters and their sons, and they're raising their kids and raising the grandkids. And they're wore out, they're exhausted, and it's more than you know. Everybody in this room probably knows somebody or somebody with a family member that has somebody that's on heroin or is on drugs and has lost everything they have, and they will. There's nothing they won't do, steal, rob, whatever it takes for heroin. And again, I will not go to any more group meetings or politicians that get together for a rehab conference on heroin or a heroin conference. The reason is they'll have a press conference, everybody will get together, they'll get up and beat their chest, and we're doing this, we're doing that, and when they leave, it's done. That's it. There's drugs you can take to get you off heroin. Then you have to take those drugs the rest of your life or until they can get you off. When they come to jail, they're off heroin. We get them off heroin. As soon as they leave, they go back. Sometimes they don't even get out of the parking lot. So if you're looking at real expensive centers and places to send family members and people that you know, there are those places. When they leave jail, they're off heroin. There needs to be something done to where you can get them at that point. Their whole lifestyle has to change. You talk to heroin addicts, they think about it day and night. They never stop thinking about it. I had one guy that told me every time it snows, he thinks about it. Every time. Now, I've talked a little bit about heroin and what we're doing with it and how we're losing it. And I don't know the answer. Nancy Reagan had a simple, it's 100%, is if you can get somebody not to try it for the first time. They usually start, if they're going to start, sometimes when they're 13 years old, 14 years old, 7th grade. Hard to believe. You talk to the serious heroin users, they'll tell you they started when they were in the 7th grade. Those of you that are teachers, you know who these people are. You can tell. I talk to teachers. They can tell by 3rd grade. Kids are going to have issues. So don't think it's not in your school. Don't think it doesn't affect you because you live in a nice house, in a nice neighborhood. They're in cars, driving down the same streets you are. They're in restaurants. They're working in restaurants. They're walking on the streets. They're among us. You have to educate. For sure, we have to stop people from ever doing this drug. Then the mixture of fentanyl that's in with the heroin kills them. Do you think that would stop them from shooting heroin? No, it does not. It's something like they can't never get enough of. They'll tell you the first high is the best thing that they've ever went through in their whole life. Then after that, it diminishes, it gets less. But they're always chasing that next high from the first high that they got. But it's so cheap. But it's destroying our culture. It's destroying our future, our children. It's not all the poor kids. Don't believe that. I've talked a little bit about heroin. Now I want to talk about police in our country. Police are under attack viciously. They're blamed. You look at cities, you look at counties, you look at the feds. When we advertise for police officers, not like it used to be. It's harder and harder to find men and women that want to be in law enforcement. The reason is not surprisingly. You talk to people that work in the field, that have many years in the field. It's a misconception that if you think police officers want to fight every night, or that they want to draw their weapon and shoot or be shot at, it's not true. They work every day. It takes a special person to want to be in law enforcement. You risk your life with needles, dirty needles. When you reach in the pocket, you'll see them on TV. They say, you got anything sharp in your pocket? They always say, no, because they don't want you to take their heroin. They don't mind getting arrested for it. They just hope you don't find it so they can get it. When you go in their house, they won't tell you where their heroin is. It's very important. They need their heroin. Police officers have to touch that stuff every day. With fentanyl and with the heroin now, it's so powerful. If the officers digest it, if the pack breaks open, it can kill them. They can put rubber gloves on, but it doesn't stop a pinprick, a needle prick. And it's so bad right now, before the life squad can get there, they can die. Then there's the cell phones. I love my cell phone. My grandkids have to help me with it every now and then because I'm one of those people. And my secretary has to get one before I do because I have issues with cell phones. I try real hard. I can text, but sometimes I send it to the wrong place. I was texting a person, I won't mention their name, and I was really ragging on this person real hard. And I was sending it to another person. And I laid the phone down. I felt pretty good about that. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. I looked up, and it was the person that I was talking about. I sent it to that person. And you know what I could do about it? Nothing. Only thing I could say was, hey, you know, I was joking. I didn't really mean it. But with the way drugs are destroying our culture and the way that the police have to put up with this and they have to deal with it, they're under attack. They're damned if they do. They're damned if they don't. They draw their weapon. They shoot. Everybody is an armchair quarterback. Everybody seconds guess every police officer. Their families worry when they go to work every day. If you see a police officer in a restaurant in their uniform, they worry. People come up. They're a target. We have police officer family members that have taken off their FOP emblems and stickers off their cars. We had one employee's wife that was threatened because they had a sticker on their vehicle. Don't think if they can't threaten and follow the police and do bodily harm to the police that all of us is in this room. They're afraid of you. They're not. It's a different time right now, and it's a more mean time. And just because someone is young, 16, 15 years old, it's all different. An example, the school shooting in Madison Township, 13-year-old. You think those school shootings always happen somewhere else? Always somewhere else. The odds of them happening here are very slim. I agree. But it always has to happen somewhere. It's like the saying about raising your taxes. I don't want my taxes raised, but that guy over there behind the tree wants his raised. It's school shootings. It won't happen here, but it did. Terrible day. When I get the first call, I didn't believe it. I thought they were just messing with me, but they weren't. They had to tell me 3 times. And when you go there and you see the scene, what a 13-year-old can do with a handgun that he stole from a family member. With intent. He was sitting in the cafeteria. The school teachers were working the cafeteria. The kids were laughing, joking, just like they would any other day. And this kid had this gun, 13-year-old male, all day. Carried it around with him, had it with him all day, a loaded handgun. He got up from a round table, much like what we have here. Before he got up, a couple of the students at his table got up and tried to run away. So he must have had the weapon out. He took off at a run, and as he was running past 2 more tables, he pointed a gun and just started shooting at the table. Just shooting at the table. Did he pick anybody out in particular? No. He was shooting at the way he looked at it as silhouettes, targets. Then he made a run for the door. There was a lady that was at his table that was trying to get away. They ran into each other. She fell down in a panic. He got up, ran out the door. 5 seconds later, in comes the officer. The deputy was in the cafeteria the entire time. When the principal came in, the deputy left with the principal. The 13-year-old decided it was time to shoot. So when they say, do officers make a difference in the school? They can. We'll never know if that officer would have stopped that shooting if he'd been there. Think of this. The officer that came and was responding with the principal, they heard the shooting. Again, imagine the police running towards gunfire. Imagine that. Running towards the gunfire. If he'd have got there 5 seconds earlier, he'd have probably had to shoot that kid. 13 years old. With a gun. Had more ammunition in his pocket. So his plan was to reload. His plan was to reload. When I go to the cafeteria, I walk in, and you see it. It's like something you've never seen before. Trays in the floor, chairs tipped over. It's a crime scene. Now, think about if you had children there or grandkids. Here's another part of this story I'm telling you. My deputies and the first responders have kids in that school. They're texting their parents. Dad, there's been a shooting. I've heard gunshots. They've got us on lockdown. That's as my deputies and the people are responding. These are their kids texting. They called for the school nurse to report. We're still in lockdown. They don't know as they're responding. That's Life Squad and Fire. Small community, Madison Township. Great community. Rural community. Up on the other side of Middletown. The first responders are responding to their family members in school. We had probably 20 police departments there and law enforcement agencies. They came from Hamilton County. We can't do this by ourselves, folks. We're all together. We share. And somebody said, did we have enough? We didn't have enough. I had officers responding from home. When you get there, we had lots of police. The police, when they do these school shootings, they would respond. Years ago, we would set up and we would negotiate outside. Can't do that anymore. As you're negotiating, the shooter comes in, does the shooting, and then they usually kill themselves. They shoot when they're out of ammunition. So what the police officers have to do now is they respond and they go in immediately. They don't wait for backup. They wait till there's maybe 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. They go in with handguns, whatever they have. They go into school because they have to stop the shooter. 13-year-old, 14-year-olds. and you have to stop them, and deadly force. You have to step over people that are shot or wounded. You cannot stand and give first aid. You have to go stop the shooter. Our society is broken, still the best country in the world to live, but these are the things that the police do. When you see them on TV, when our President of the United States said police acted stupidly, and every time there's a shooting, they say it's an unarmed person that's unarmed, they didn't have a gun. Well, let me put that to rest. Policemen carry firearms. Most policemen are killed with their own handgun and killed within 5 feet with their own handgun. When you're wrestling and fighting with somebody and you have a handgun, it's a jump ball. What that means in basketball term is when they put the ball up, both people have their hand on it, the referee gets in the middle, they throw it up, whoever gets the ball. If you're wrestling with somebody that has a handgun, you're a police officer, you're wrestling to keep your handgun from the other person. So when they say the person didn't have a handgun and they're fighting with them and they're wrestling them, it's not true. It's a jump ball. Do what the police tell you. If you don't want to do what the police say and you want to jump on the police, or the police tackle you. If the police tackle you, that's non-lethal force. But if you have a gun, you should say you have a gun. You should do what the police say. If they say raise your hands, raise your hand. Most of these shootings, not all of them, most of them, there's video of them, most of them. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have a handgun on them. The one shooting in Cincinnati, the one group stated that the guy had a gun or had a knife. The policeman should have let him stab him a couple times before he shot him. Most Americans don't believe that. We're not the most boisterous. But the police are under attack, and with the videos and with the cameras, it's not terrible. I had somebody film me the other day in front of the jail because I pulled up in a no parking spot and I stopped with my door open, and I got out to talk to somebody that was going into jail to question them. This lady come out, it was kind of funny, my first encounter with a cell phone camera, sort of. She thought she was going to intimidate me. I thought it was funny as hell, really. She said, you're not allowed to park there. I said, well, who said that? She says, well, I did. I said, well, I'm doing police business. She said, it says no parking. I said, well, I'm doing police business. It's okay. No, you're not. And I'm going to record you. I said, good. Get my good side. And I said, what are you here for? She said, to get somebody released. And you're not doing that fast enough. I said, oh, okay. I'll get right on that. But that's what we have to deal with. We stop people now, it's different. And I don't think it's going to get any better soon. When I have young kids that are afraid of the police, and then we have teenagers that hate the police, that's going to take years to fix. And I don't know how to fix it. It seems as though we have no leadership in either party, Democrat or Republican. None. I wish we could start all over, firemen start all over, except for sheriff. I wish we could start all over, do away with term limits, and actually hire people that work for us. That's why the two candidates that are running for president, you have Bernie Sanders on one side, who's getting all the young people, all of them, because they're just fed up with the current status. And then you have Trump on the other side. You had 16 people run against Trump. They were all qualified. They had millions of dollars. People are fed up. They're so fed up, they're sick over it. And it's not the status quo. And right now in our country, we need a leader or leaders that can make a difference. We need a Supreme Court that can make a difference. Don't you wish the Senate and the House, Republicans and Democrats, could go in a room and actually get something done and agree on something? We didn't hire them to go up there and fight and go out and have a news conference and blah, 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 and nothing gets done. All they do is fight. That's all they do is fight. It needs to be like you get 6 of them in a room, and they need to not come out until they get something done and move the economy along and agree. But that's not going to happen. Even after this election, whoever gets elected, now I'm just the sheriff. And remember, I say y'all and howdy. But I would say most of you agree we're disgusted with all of it. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, we're disgusted. And I see no fix coming. Whoever wins this election, it's going to be by such a small margin, the divide is going to be the same. And it'll be a miserable 4 years for all of us. Now that I've cheered you up, now, again, I'm just the sheriff. And maybe you think I talk about things I don't know about, and I'm sure I do. But I keep my ear to the ground. I hear what people think. I go to nice restaurants. I go to restaurants that aren't so nice. I stop and talk to people on the street. I hear what people are saying and what they think. I'm not afraid to say it. Like I say, I spend a little time in court, but I'm not afraid to say it. One person can make a difference if you have the guts to stand up. Doesn't matter if you're a city council person, if you're a county person, a state person, or a federal person. One person can make a difference if you stand up and you fight. Now, I'm going to take questions. That's always dangerous. So I'm going to take questions if you have questions for the sheriff.
What is cheese? We're
It's a mixture of heroin, cocaine, and it's a small mixture, and it's a small amount made to get kids in grade school high and addicted. And you can't make that stuff up. Now, that you bring that up, not everybody in this room agrees with my stance, and I understand that, on drugs coming across the borders and my stance on illegals. I'm not a racist, nor am I a bigot. I had protesters at my jail, and they have racist and bigot wrote on their shirts, all spelled incorrectly. So I send my guys out with Sharpies to help them spell the correct. True story. They had it all spelled wrong. They come and they chain themselves to my doors. My chief comes in and said, they're singing in the lobby. And I said, singing's a good thing. And he said, yes, there's something with your name in there. I said, it might not be good, but they're singing. That's a good thing, right? The news media said, will they go to jail? I said, they've come to the right place. Now, they chained themselves to the doors. They got arrested, but they wanted to be arrested. Drugs are coming across the border whether you like it or not. China has moved their opium trade to Mexico because it's easier to get across the border. Illegals come into the United States. They come in across the borders. I can't arrest people for being here illegal, but if you're here illegal and you commit a crime, I can arrest you. I have 300 people in my jail at any given day that are federal prisoners that are here from ICE and the U.S. Marshals. I have 6 deputies that are sworn in as federal agents and can help with the deportation process. I have hearings, deportation hearings in my jail, federal judges on the other line doing it by video. We're fair. The people that are in my jail, for example, the people from Mexico that are in my jail are the most behaved prisoners. My officers fight to work those cell pods. I learned a little Spanish, and it scares people when I speak it, because I speak it with a hillbilly accent. I can say, hablo poquito español, just a little. But the drugs are coming across, and the opium and the 76%, but it is coming across. I've been to the border twice. Not everybody agrees with me, but I am not a racist or a bigot. But when you come here and commit a crime, if you're sneaking into this country, at least have the dignity not to commit a crime while you're here. Next question. Hey, got one? He don't need a microphone.
I believe that it was a mistake to even develop Narcan.
Okay. Are you asking me or are you making a statement?
Well, I'd like you to comment to it.
My deputies don't use Narcan. I won't use it till the court orders me to use it. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Pretty simple? Yes, sir.
How many people died in Butler County from heroin overdose last year?
The question was how many people have died from heroin overdose. I'm not the coroner, but I've talked to the coroner, and the doctor has told me that we're going to reach 200 this year, if I'm not mistaken. Now, keep in mind, I said earlier, the babies that are born, I'm going to tell you that I believe you have well over 100, maybe more than 200 babies that are born in your county that are born addicted to heroin. I've at least had 3 in my jail. And the reason they're in my jail is because the judges sentenced them there, and I got 2 judges up in the front row here. I got to be careful. I'm still scared of them. The reason the judges sentence women that are pregnant to my jail is they try to save the babies. If they send them to a rehab center, they won't stay because they're on heroin. So they send them to the jail to where they can get them off of heroin. But what the mothers want is more heroin. So they induce their labor so they can have the baby and get out and do more heroin.
Last week, we heard about several schools closing down because of this clown episode. Why were the schools closed down, particularly what was the event?
It was more than the clowns. The schools were closed down. You know, when I went to school, clowns were funny. Red Skelton, you know, clowns were a funny thing. Some people are scared of clowns. Some people won't even have a clown picture. I've had more teenagers come up to me and say, "Are you doing something about the clowns?" I said, "I got 1,000 clowns in my jail." I said, "I'm doing all I can." I said, "I see clowns in my sleep." Now, I'm one of those strange people that like clowns. You pay to have clowns come to your birthday parties? I don't think you could pay a clown to get out in the car right now. In New York, they've banned clowns, so even the good clowns. But it was more to it than just clowns. It was threats. They were doing social media, and they were putting pictures of clowns, and they said they were going to come and hurt the kids in school. We were going to hide in the fields, and we were going to hurt the kids when they went to school. So that was the reason why. It was sort of the equivalent of when they had the bomb threats, and it was doing it online, and they were hitting all the schools. You can't close the schools down every day. So people that run the schools make that decision. It's very tough to be in charge of schools anyway, and we've got a retired superintendent in the back that can tell you all that you need to know. It's a tough job, it's an important job, but these bomb threats come in and they do it through the whole schools. Now it's a clown threat. And hell, here we are coming up on Halloween, so we're going to see lots of clowns. So you can't arrest somebody for being a clown, but you can arrest somebody for making threats and inducing panic. It's hard to think about you could induce panic and be a clown, but there's bad clowns. Casey, the guy in the country that took kids in and killed kids dressed up as a clown. There's all kinds of instances, but you could dress up as anything. Somebody in the car with candy, trying to get kids in the car. It's a very messed up situation, but the clowns are the biggest news that there is right now. And that one night, we had clown sightings in 7 Mile. And I don't know what a clown was doing in 7 Mile, but there was a clown in 7 Mile. And everybody was scared. And kids, teenagers. I had one dad come up to me and say, "Tell her you're taking care of the clowns." I said, "I'm taking care of the clowns, I promise." So and most people don't even know what the hell's up with the clowns, but that's what it is. It's just one of these things that went viral. Hopefully I've answered your question. Question back in the back.
Is the clowns, is that an organization? Is it organized, or is it just individual people?
There are clown organizations. There's organizations for everything. Hell, you can go to school to be a clown. And I've been called a clown myself sometime. In the journal back there in the back, they might have called me a clown. They've called me a little bit of everything. But I still love you guys. Man. They're not mainstream media, but they treat me okay. I tell them they can't run good stories on me. They got to nick me up a little bit, or people start hating on me, think I'm in with the paper. But getting back, no. These are groups, mostly kids that get online, think it's funny to take a picture of themselves in a clown and post it online, and it's over here and it's away and nobody will know. With those threats of bombs in the schools, they were doing them from other states and sometimes out of country. So as you're aware of, doing things online can cause you some grief. And that's all we hear about is the grief of emails and online. I don't do emails because I get sued often and they do a public information request on my emails. I should have called Hillary a long time ago and I could have gave her that advice. She listened to me. She should have been like her husband. He don't do email, he said. And I do. And first thing they do is a public information request, and they want all my emails. And people send you stuff if you have email, and they think it's funny until you're on a witness stand and it's not so funny. And I try to stay away from there as much as possible, contrary to what some people might think. Next question. You don't get to see me very often. Question was, is there any programs out there that give me any hope for the heroin issue? No. Now, I'm just the sheriff. There's people in this room that may feel different. There's several programs that work in the schools. There's programs that work with addicts. There's a new program out when they leave the jail. If it's court ordered, they can give them a shot. And if they do the heroin, it makes them sick. And they go back and they get the shot every 30 days, and it's supposed to keep them off heroin. So what they're doing is they're doing cocaine. So it's a miserable existence. I wish there was something that I was excited about. And anybody that runs these other programs will tell you they're excited about their programs. I am not. I believe the best thing that you can do is educate and try to convince our kids at early ages not to do it. Nancy Reagan was ahead of her time, whether you liked her or not, but we've got to educate the kids, and they start early. These kids that have parents that are in my jail, they don't have a chance. It's terrible. I watch them coming up, the kids that are born to addicts, and then you have the children's services. They're real apt not to take the kids away. They give them lots of chances because their philosophy is to reunite them with their parents. Sometimes that's not possible. How many more chances do you give them? But their philosophy and their credo is to reunite them with their families. It's a tough job. It's a thankless job. And and when you see one that it doesn't happen, there's a lot more that it's close. And there's some people, and it's hard for males to say this, but I'm not afraid to say it. There's some people that shouldn't have kids. There's some people, and for a man to stand up and say that these women that are having children that are heroin addicts and have several children shouldn't have these children, maybe that should be addressed. And if a man is afraid to talk about it, that's his fault. I'm not afraid to say it. It's a time when it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed soon. They have lots of babies. And again, in your community, you'd be shocked, no matter where you live.
I was talking to a neonatal doctor yesterday. She travels around to 5 different hospitals in the county, or the area, and she was telling me that last month she had 8 babies in one day that were born to mothers who were heroin addicts.
Okay.
It's just unbelievable to me.
In 1 month, one hospital, one person, one day. Hey, you figure it out. I said hundreds, and I'm trying to be conservative. I don't want to think any different. Now, do your math, and then figure there's 88 counties. This is just in this area. There's 88 counties in Ohio. And then think of the whole United States. We're losing a terrible battle. And then we have the schools that have to deal with this and deal with their parents and the kids and these kids that are adopted. It's a very, very tough environment. One day, 8. Now, I will guarantee you this, they were all born free. You want to bet on that? Don't bet me, you'll lose. I don't want to take your money, you'll lose. There's more babies born in these hospitals, to include your own, that are born in a day, that are born free, than pay. But that's okay, we're all paying for it. It's free. Everything's free. College is free, babies born free, it's all free. Nobody's going to pay for it. So I digress. I apologize. Next question over here. He's bringing the mic for you.
What is the difference in scope of responsibility between the county sheriff's department and the local police department like Fairfield or Hamilton?
Here's what it comes down to. Your local police departments and police in the state of Ohio have jurisdiction within their area. We all cooperate. We have what's called mutual aid. If they need it or we need it, they don't have to ask, they just come out. The sheriff is the only law enforcement in the state of Ohio that is elected, that is hired and fired every 4 years. The sheriff has complete jurisdiction in the county that he or she is the sheriff. The Ohio Revised Code has the sheriff as the highest ranking law enforcement in the county. So the chiefs have to kiss my ring when I come in. and they have to salute me and call me sir. I'm just exaggerating. We're very fortunate. That's why you see sheriff cruisers anywhere you go in the state of Ohio. They're all the same color. They're all the same color uniform, same hats, because they enforce state law and regulations, and they can go anywhere. And a lot of times we have people on task force, other police departments, and we share responsibility. Hamilton, when we have an example, the shooting at Madison, we had officers from Hamilton all the way up to Madison. When Hamilton had situations and they have shootings or they have car crashes, we all share resources together. We share the building, we share resources. The jail van, when their jail van breaks down, I'll see their guys driving sheriff cars. We all work together, but we have what's called mutual aid. But the sheriff has jurisdiction in the whole county and is the highest ranking by statute and is the only law enforcement that is hired and fired in 4 years. And sheriffs were the first law enforcement in the country. They came over from England, and they were called sheriffs in the colonies. So we tell people, hell, we invented law enforcement. So you get a little history here. You didn't know that, did you? Yes, ma'am.
What do you have to do to keep the morale of your officers up when they're under, all this pressure?
Believe it or not, we have a sense of humor. We laugh as versus cry. We had a great case. A prosecutor prosecuted a case where a child was murdered, beat to death. The trial just got the verdict back yesterday, got a murder conviction. Great prosecution. It was our case, great law enforcement work. Today at 2 o'clock, we're going to get all the detectives in a room and we're going to congratulate them. We're going to have cake, cookies, coffee, and we're going to laugh and joke and tell good things about the case. So that's the kind of stuff we try to do. We give awards. We used to do award ceremonies once a year. It's not quick enough. We give awards out monthly. We do promotion ceremonies monthly because we're under so much attack. Delayed gratification is like no gratification at all. So we try to do current gratification and rewards. And that's all you can do. Money can do some things, but reward and stress. There's a high rate of divorce with law enforcement. There's a high rate of alcoholism, and it's a tough environment when law enforcement, when you go home and it's tough, and when you have friends or you go somewhere, police people in law enforcement are kind of to the side, even with other family members, and their tolerance sometimes is tough, and so that's a long answer. I come from a generational situation, and the way I do it in my family, my son-in-law and my son are both policemen. We get together, we drink a little scotch, and we smoke a cigar. And we solve all the problems in the world. And we laugh. So that's how we deal with it. It's sort of like blue bloods. So it's good in a way. You've got the time control. You tell me, I'm good. Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank you for the work you do for the animal friends.
Yes. If you don't know it, I'm also the dog catcher. They referred to that as a hostile takeover. Why the sheriff wants to be the dog catcher. I felt that we would do a better job, and I feel we have. But I didn't know when I took the position of dog catcher that I was also going to be cutting the grass at the Humane Society, doing the maintenance on the building. And I didn't know all those things, but I do those, and it's a good marriage. And when you see these animals that are abused, that's where these kids sometimes start, with abusing animals, and we take it very serious, and we will prosecute you, and we will do everything we can through the prosecutor's office to make a difference with those animals, and we do. And if you go to the animal controls up the Humane Society up on the hill, you'll leave with a dog or a cat. So I'm just telling you, don't go in there. I go in there sometime, and I want to take them all home. It's a great place, great organization. There was another question back in the back in the green shirt, the guy with a cool haircut. If I could have one of those, I would. I told him I met a guy once that had a Don Eagle up to here, couldn't wear a hat, and I said, hey, you don't mind if I have a picture made with you? Made the guy nervous, but go ahead.
My question is, in light of some laws that have passed in California and Massachusetts, what your thoughts are on the attack on our Second Amendment?
Go ahead and explain what the Second Amendment is for everybody here. Not everybody.
The right to bear arms.
My position is pretty simple. The law-abiding citizens that have their concealed carry, those are the good people. But you don't have to have a concealed carry to have a weapon. You have your Second Amendment that your right to have a weapon and bear arms. When you see people out on the street carrying rifles and pistols openly, there's a reason for that, because they can. Now, with that in mind, I gave permission for my employees that work at the sheriff's office to carry a firearm, whether they're a certified peace officer or not. And the reason for that, now I caught a little grief over that. The reason for that is that we are a target. My employees that aren't armed are a target in the building and when they go to and from the building. So I rectified that. If they want to have any training, I make that available to them and I allow them to carry their firearm. So, and I believe that taking the weapons away from the law-abiding citizens is not the correct way to do it. I don't believe that people should be able to buy bullets that pierce armor. It makes me nervous when I see people walking down the street with rifles. It makes me nervous. Hell, it makes me nervous when I carry one. But to be able to carry your firearm, I'm good with that. People that have their firearms, I'm good with that. And I encourage people to get their concealed carry. The mall shooting can be like the school shooting. It doesn't happen very often. You can choose. I tell people the best thing, if you're in a place where a shooting takes place like in here, is to try to get out first. Then your next option is to board the doors up and hope that the shooter doesn't come in and to beg for your life. That's the only options you have. You can fight them, or you can have a concealed carry and you can defend yourself. So I prefer not to have to beg for my life unless I have to. So I carry a firearm. When you see me out in civilian clothes or shorts, I always have a firearm or two. But a lot of people want to kill me. I came home one day and there's deputies in my yard, and it's because the FBI called and said I was on a list of 3 sheriffs in the United States. There's 3,800 sheriffs elected in the United States. I was in the top 3 to be killed by the drug cartel. So naturally I asked the FBI guy, I said, was I 1 or 3? And he started laughing. You know, that's important. Because, you know, if I'm going to be in the top 3, I want to be at least 1. Doesn't make much difference out of 3,800 if you're in the top 3. It's not good. So when you see me at functions, I have security, and if you don't see security, it's there. Make sense? And I think I answered your question. I support the Second Amendment and being able to carry, and I encourage people to get their concealed carry.
One last question.
One last question. He said that 4 questions ago.
In that same vein, what is your position on arming teachers in schools?
Pretty simple. I was always scared of the teachers. They didn't need to be armed. They were armed with paddles. And I was in high school getting SWATs. Like I said, I didn't always know I was going to be the sheriff. You had to get 3 SWATs for every detention or you couldn't graduate. I don't know who made that damn rule up. So I was working those SWATs also so I could get my diploma. Teachers being armed. I've always been outspoken. I believe it's okay for teachers to be armed. I believe it's okay for principals to be armed. I believe it's something that the schools can do. The Attorney General said you can if the school board said it's okay. And most schools, not all schools, have school resource officers. They have deputies there. Some schools in this jurisdiction have civilians that are armed, and I'm okay with that. I really am. And if there's any way that I can enhance that or help with that, I will. But not everybody agrees with me. There's people in this room that think that the last thing they want is guns in the schools, and that's okay. If that's your position, I won't try to convince you otherwise. I give you my opinion. You'll wait for the police to get there. And if they say, well, it only takes the police 3 minutes, we can get there. The shootings are always over in 3 minutes. So you decide. But that's my opinion, and I give it to you straight up. Hey, everybody, Judge has got another question.
Do you suggest that anybody who wants to carry a concealed weapon don't have training?
Anybody that carries a concealed weapon in Ohio, I think you have to have the concealed carry. You have to take the training. Yes, you have to have the concealed training. It's 8 hours. It was 12. And you can get it at any There's all kinds of places you can go. It's 125 to 150 bucks. You get your concealed carry. They'll teach you how to use the handgun. They'll teach you to be familiar with the handgun, how to load the handgun, and what the laws are with carrying a handgun. It's pretty simple. It's a good thing. And the police know when they stop somebody, it comes up on the radio, on our dispatch, that you're a concealed carry person. So, and they tell you what to do. Put both hands on the steering wheel. Try not to reach for the gun. The glove box makes the police nervous. And you don't want to make the police nervous. Do we agree? We don't want to. I get nervous when I'm out somewhere and somebody's coming at me. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what religion they are. If all of a sudden they're reaching in their pocket, it makes me nervous. And do you think the police get nervous when they see it? Sure they do. The police want to go home every night, and they do not want to deal with this and have to take someone's life. And I've had to deal with officers that have shot and killed someone. They have to live with that the rest of their life. So don't think any different. They're just like everybody else. That's a chip that will be with them the rest of their life. I want to thank all of you for having me here. Hopefully I don't have to apologize anymore, and I've not went over my limit. Bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay. Good deal. Thanks.
Butler County Sheriff Richard K. Jones, thank you very much, Sheriff. I really appreciate today your insight and your candor, as we would expect, and some insight into what's going on in our community every day. We really appreciate everybody coming out for Celebrating Self. We'd love to see you again very soon. Thank you to our friends here at TV Hamilton. We look forward to seeing you very soon at the Fitton Center. Thank you.